Retro TV, your home for classic television. The greatest shows in history are here for you to enjoy. Join Cosby and Culp as secret agent men in I Spy. Ride along the Ponderosa with the Cartwrights in Bonanza. Hit the beat with Joe Friday in Dragnet. And that's not all. Retro TV offers endless fun and excitement for the whole family to enjoy. Retro TV, the best in classic television.
You can find Retro TV on over-the-air channel 13.4.
It's almost time.
Now we'll find out once and for all about Clark Kent and Superman.
Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a TV show.
Yes, but who is he? What's his name?
He's Superman.
Golly, Clark, won't that be wonderful seeing Superman?
Fighting a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and television the Me TV way.
No one can do the things that Superman does.
The Adventures of Superman.
Now on Me TV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Hi, I'm John Malos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Friday morning. Glad you're along for the ride. Hey, you can call in today at 436-ME-TV option 11. We'll be talking about the state of the Fresno Police Department and the actions that have happened after the arrest of Deputy Chief Keith Foster. Back in just a moment.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
Back here on the program on a Friday morning. Glad you're along here on the showroom floor at Ventura TV for this program called Connect with Me on Me TV. We're glad you're along. And as a reminder, you know, you can watch us every Monday through Friday live here on 3 separate stations. That would be Comcast Channel 187, 43.6, and 13.1. And later in the day, the replay comes in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on 13.6 on YouTube and 8 o'clock at night on 4.6 Biz TV. And you can also catch us, of course, well, you can catch me on Twitter. And the Twitter account is at John Malos, Me TV. You can follow that. So anyway, we're going to get into the Fresno Police Department and the state of that police department here in just a moment. And it was just more than a week ago that the Deputy Police Chief, Keith Foster, was arrested by the FBI and the ATF. There's a picture of Keith Foster right there. We'll keep that up for a few moments. As I mentioned, that Foster was taken in last Thursday on federal drug charges, conspiracy to distribute and possess oxycodone, heroin, and marijuana. In fact, he was moving this stuff across state lines along with 3 other suspects who were arrested. Denny Foster, a relative, Rafael Guzman, and Randy Flowers. Chief Dyer, Jerry Dyer, that is, and others met with Foster at the federal courthouse as he made his first court appearance, but then he was dressed in street clothes, not a jumpsuit. A day later, Foster was let out of jail while others remained in custody, but Foster's attorney, Marshall Hodgkins, told the media that his client was distraught and sobbing. Check out the videotape, my friends, from last week. Chief Jerry Dyer seen with a somber face as the feds made the announcement of Foster's arrest. Dyer admitted he was shocked. He apologized to the community, said he takes full responsibility, but added the Fresno Police Department is not broken and there are areas that need improved. But Dyer, who was not implicated in the bust, claimed he knew nothing about it, completely caught off guard, and it blindsided him. He said he doesn't know what the future holds for him over the next 2 years. He received the full support, though, of Mayor Ashley Swearingen and City Manager Bruce Rudd. The FBI, ATF worked together in monitoring Foster for more than a year. He was under both video and audio surveillance. Live in our studio right now is Rebeca Rangel. She is a member of the Central California Criminal Justice Committee, and Juan Avitia, the president of MAPA. That would be the Mexican American Political Action Committee. They are both here to talk about the state of the police department. Now, I do want to mention before I go to break here that I did reach out to Lieutenant Joe Gomez. He is the public information officer for the Fresno Police Department. And I tried to get a statement from Chief Dyer, and he is not making any statements at this time. Tried to get him on the program. He won't come on either in person or by telephone. And so no comment, at least from the police department, from Jerry Dyer at this time. But you are welcome to call in. 436-ME-TV, option 11. We got a couple of people here in the studio to talk about this, and if you feel strongly about it, call in and offer up an opinion on the state of Fresno PD. Is there a lack of leadership at the top? Back with our program in just a moment.
Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're the low-price leading brands reliable advice place. The Frigidaire Gallery Dream Kitchen Get Yours Today place. You with me? Right now, get huge savings on select Frigidaire Gallery appliances and pay no interest when paid in full within 6 months at the hometown low price think outside the big box place. Since 1951, Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're working hard to be your place.
Attention all units. We have reports of 2 motorcycle cops protecting California's highway.
That's for us, good buddy.
The Men of Chips are on MeTV.
Hi, I'm John Baker. I'm John Baker. It's Officer Baker.
He's the blonde one.
Hi there. Officer Poncherello, man. Frank Poncherello.
Oh, I'm Frank Poncherello.
And he's the one who's Eric Estrada.
There's no way I wouldn't remember a name like that.
Catch the blonde one and the one who's Eric Estrada on
Now
Chips.
on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
And we're back here on the program today talking about the Fresno Police Department. And so Rebecca's here, Juan is here, and we do have a caller on the line. Caller, hang on a moment. We'll get to you in just one moment. Be patient. And so I guess the question is, I couldn't get Chief Dyer on the program. He's not making any comments. Juan, since you're on the end there, I want to start with you.
Sure.
Lack of leadership at the top? I know Jerry Dyer says he knew nothing about it, but what's your opinion about leadership at the top of the Fresno Police Department?
Leadership has always been an issue with the police department, especially when Jerry Dyer took over. The shootings that have occurred, the way he's attacked the gangs, for example, in town, people saw problems with that as well because it went beyond just attacking the gangs, spilled over to the community. I'll get more to that later. The men that work with him, and as MAPA, and being involved with this since 1987, just watching the progression of the Fresno Police Department to where it got to Jerry Dyer, I think it trickles down from him. I think he didn't know anything about what happened last week with the arrest of Keith Foster, but I do believe that his leadership has set the tone for other officers and their misconduct.
Yeah, Rebecca, quickly before we get to the call, your opinion?
Well, I think there's definitely trouble in paradise. There's a lot of problems at the top, and it goes beyond Dyer, but it begins with Dyer.
Yeah. Caller, are you there? I want to hear your opinion.
Hey, I just have a question. I think a lot of this is seeing the same thing going around on Facebook, and that is Chief Dyer has said repeatedly that he is extremely close to Foster, and he has been, I think he said, for a decade or more. And on the other hand, he says he had no clue what was going on. Obviously, somebody had a clue, or the investigation wouldn't have happened. And if you know anything about people in the drug trade, they have a lot of the same habits as cheating spouses, for example, with their timing on things, their behaviors, disappearing often. So I don't buy this thing that Dyer, who supposedly knew him so well, didn't see any signs, while at the same time, somebody did, or the investigation wouldn't have happened. Thank you.
Right. Hey, caller, are you still there?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say something real quick and comment about that, and I want your opinion on the caller's thoughts here. But, caller, I just want to say, the FBI had worked on this for the better part of 1 year. They had video surveillance, they did the investigation, they had audio tapes, the wiretaps. If the chief was involved or if he knew about it, you would tend to think that after a year of surveillance that the FBI would have known if Dyer had known about Foster. Would you agree?
I'm not suggesting at all that he knew, and in fact, I'm trying to make the point of his whole tenure of a lot of things that he's not paying attention to.
Such as?
And I have a problem with that.
Such
I have
as?
a big problem with that.
What's he not paying attention to?
Well, there's several things that have gone on in the administration, but for example, an experience that I had was when we first moved back here, my special needs son turned up missing from a local store. I called Fresno PD. You don't get a dispatcher when you call. You're going to be on hold for a long time before you get any live person. We waited there over an hour. Now, I had since then tried to reach out to Dyer and part of his administration because he is constantly in the media talking about himself, talking about various things, talking about all these crimes. But to me, it seems kind of simple, like, why doesn't somebody answer the phone when somebody's trying to report something? I mean, you could probably cut down a lot of crime just by that, but I think criminals have come to know that, hey, we've got a good 5 to 60-minute lead time because nobody's going to answer the phone over there.
Okay.
So this is an administrative level problem. They want to blame funding, but when you look at salaries like Dyer's or Foster's, I mean, Dyer's salary alone is enough to pay for at least 3 different dispatchers for an entire year.
Yeah. Okay, caller, I appreciate your time. Juan, what do you think here?
Well, the caller's not far from the truth. There's a lot of a lot of things that go on. You would be fascinated. We work with gang members, and the things they tell you. We work with people on the streets who sell drugs as part of an organization that tries to organize politically, and they've been telling us for years stories about things happening in and out of the department. Now, people have blown these people out, like drug sales, like pitting the gangs against each other, like leaving some people and politicizing the whole street game. And that's something that people have dismissed, the felons and the gang members, and now it all comes to fruition with the arrest of Foster. We've known about this for years, about this type of activity. Gang members have been telling us exactly this very thing. They say a lot of the gang violence is due to the police department itself, pitting one gang against the other or pitting one group against the other as a way to maybe get some information.
Do we have any proof of this, or are these just allegations?
No, this is coming from the gang members themselves, and this kind of evidence, and this is evidence from their mouth that people have dismissed because they're felons, because they're gang members. But we see now that they weren't lying. I think the proof is in the pudding. And one thing about Dyer, not knowing,
I don't see any proof that the police department is pitting one gang against the other.
Because you do not go out there and talk on a daily basis to these gang members the way we do. You do not organize with these people the way we do. And they'll tell you on the under, they say, I don't want to go on TV. I don't want to say anything publicly because I know I'm going to get in trouble, but this is what's going on. We are actually starting a campaign right now to basically get rid of the dependency on the police department and start working within the communities and trying to take our communities back, because we understand sometimes these gang members are going to give us a lot more information that we're going to get elsewhere, and hopefully we can try to deter crime in our own community.
I got to take a break here. I'm going to come back. You'll get your turn here, Rebecca, I promise. We're talking with both Rebeca Rangel and also Juan Avitia, and we're talking about the state of the Fresno Police Department. No comment from Jerry Dyer today. He won't be calling in. He won't be appearing on this program. And so you can call in 436-ME-TV option 11. We're back with our program in just a moment.
Tune in to Heartland for the best in true country music. Relive vintage specials, one-of-a-kind concerts, and country music's earliest videos. Heartland is the heart of country, the only place where you can find country music, country stars, and country lifestyles 24/7. Heartland, the heart of country.
Now on channel 13.2.
The Ballad of Andy and Barney. Andy and Barney were lawmen, bravest you ever did see. Warned every crook in the record book to stay out of Mayberry. They were the law.
Yes, they were the law, and they didn't know fear.
The Andy Griffith Show.
I guess to sum it up, you could say there's 3 reasons why there's so little crime in Mayberry. There's Andy, and there's me, and baby makes 3.
Now on MeTV Fresno.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
436-ME-TV, option 11, if you want to call in and weigh in on the program. And so we had a caller call in talking about questioning, the leadership at the top. And so, Rebecca, you want to pick up on what Juan said before the break here?
Well, yes. My attention right now is on the leadership of Police Chief Dyer, because what it brought up for me when this happened was, let me see, his desk is 3 feet away from Deputy Police Chief Foster, and he knew nothing? I just find that astounding. They're extremely close. Everybody knows that. And that clip you just showed, his morass, demeanor, I found very, very interesting. What I did was I have been focused as a co-chair of the Central California Criminal Justice Committee and also working with the ACLU's Criminal Justice Roundtable on the number of officer-involved shootings and how long they take to investigate. Perfect example. I have talked to Police Chief Dyer, and he says for them to take a year or longer is really pretty standard, but that's not true. Last September, I went to a conference in Atlanta, Georgia, with NACOL, it's National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, and I talked to several independent auditors, and I asked them all the same question. How long does an officer-involved shooting case that is with no extenuating circumstances, excluding not being able to find witnesses, with no complications, a straight shooting from the perpetrator/victim to the officer, how long should an officer-involved shooting take to investigate? Answer I got, between 30, never more than 60 days. Yet Dyer says it's a year over a year. And I'm going to tell you why.
What's the reason that he gave?
He says that's how long it takes.
Okay.
That's just how long it takes.
Okay. Now, in the last couple of years here in the city of Fresno, there have been roughly, give or take, 32 officer-involved shootings. How long do you think an officer-involved shooting investigation should take, Juan?
I agree with Ms. Rangel here, because she's right about that. But at the same time, we met with Dyer and Foster and Rudd and the IPA, or the Independent Auditor.
We,
MAPA, several groups of coalition of organizations, because we took over the actual city hall. We refused to leave. We were going to be arrested, but we demanded a meeting. This is after the shooting of a gentleman in the west side, Miguel Torres, 17 times. This is before Mike Brown. We met and we demanded.
What year was that?
This 2014.
2014, so it would have been last year.
Yep.
And what was the outcome of that meeting?
The outcome of the meeting was a follow-up meeting with Dyer again and with Rudd, and sure enough, they all showed up. And one thing we saw that did come out of there was a promise of more cameras on police officers, which is something we demanded, more accountability in that manner. But also, we didn't get clear-cut promises from them either. But one thing we did get was the IPA, or the Independent Auditor. He admitted that he does not have subpoena power, and he cannot investigate police officers efficiently enough to do his job. And he told Jerry Dyer right there in front of us that he would investigate him if he could, but he can't.
Okay, caller, you're there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I spent 24 years in law enforcement in the 80s. And I just want to make an understanding. Why is Dyer getting over $200,000, and this deputy chief is getting $194,000 a year? The problem is they got too many chiefs and not enough Indians. And I think most of these people that are high up should be on the streets instead of in the office pushing paper. And I've seen some of the actions of Fresno police, and I understand why people are concerned the way the police department conducts themselves, because they have this attitude, they don't care, and they don't want to, basically a lot of times they don't want to do the paperwork. And so they just try to just ignore it, or they try to settle it to themselves where there's no paperwork involved.
Yeah.
So I agree with him on the why aren't they chasing gangbangers? Why aren't they chasing the criminals? All they're chasing is people, that don't have their seatbelts on or talking on a cell phone because they're interested in the money. They're not interested in stopping crime.
Okay. I appreciate the phone call. Thanks for weighing in. I guess I got to take another break here, and then I'm going to come back and let Rebecca weigh in. Yeah?
I actually just want to say one more thing about officer-involved shootings. And the reason that they're taking a year or longer, this is not a secret, by the way, and that is that it's an unspoken that the community will forget. And a lot of these shootings have been excessive times that they shoot, egregious in terms of chasing perpetrators and shooting them in the back. Not uncommon for Fresno, pretty typical. But for them to take a year or longer is about community memory. And I'm going to tell you something, 9 times out of 10, they get their way. People, they don't really forget, but the passion for many, not for everybody, but for many, get kind of watered down, and that's what they're counting on.
Yeah, we're going to be back here on the program. I do want to mention that Juan Avitia is here. He is the president of MAPA, the Mexican American Political Association. That organization has been around a long time. I came to Fresno in 1996, and it was here. And so Rebeca Rangel is here. She is a member of the Central California Criminal Justice Committee as well. Call in, 436-ME-TV, option 11. Unfortunately, no comment from Dyer. And I think part of that is, no comment from the chief, is that it's an ongoing investigation. The FBI has probably, I'm assuming, asked him not to comment any further. We had some of the news conferences that took place last week. We'll play those on the other side of the break. In the meantime, you can call in. We've got an open line. We're back in just a moment.
Euronews, most watched news channel in Europe.
Back here with Rebecca and Juan, and by the way, I love your hat. It's very stylish. It's very nice. And so, Chief Dyer has, I've known him a long time. I've been, like I said, I've been in Fresno since '96, and he became chief, I believe, in 2001. And he's been on this program before. I've interviewed him many times. He's a God-fearing man. He's a gracious man. And to a certain extent, let me ask you something. Do you want to give him credit for having helped reduce crime in the city of Fresno or not?
I can't, and I'm going to tell you why. And I spoke of gangs earlier. One of the things we've seen is his war on the Bulldogs, which is, it's admirable that you would want to stop crime. Nobody wants to see crime occur. I'd be intellectually dishonest to sit here and say, let the gangs run the streets. No. But while attacking the gangs, or the Bulldogs in this case, unfortunately, his officers have attacked the community, and they break up families, and then people lose total trust in the police. We're at a point where people are afraid to call the police for fear of what's going to result, whether it be a shooting, as we saw this summer, or whether it be an arrest or break up a family, or just the demeaning of people who are already poor and struggling.
Caller, go ahead. You're on.
Good morning, John.
Good morning.
I don't know anything about Chief Dyer's observation of his second in command there, but I have had incidents with the police department, the rank and file, and I found them to be courteous and professional, and I think that's a reflection of the chief's attitude. I will further remark that I think the police are too quick to use their gun in Fresno, and police officers maybe need some a deeper training in unarmed combat. That's my comment. Thank you. Good morning.
Hey, thank you very much for the call. 436-ME-TV, option 11 is the telephone number here if you want to call in. And so, do you give Chief Dyer credit for bringing crime down in the city of Fresno?
Wow, that's kind of a hard question to answer. I happen to be on the police chief's advisory board, have been for 15 years.
Yeah.
To hear him tell it, yes, of course. I think there are a lot of people that are afraid of him. I think that that quote-unquote crime-fighting propaganda machine that he has going.
Is it because he looks tough, acts tough, is tough?
Maybe. Possible. I think
Is it the image?
I think it's partly the image. I think he has the police out and about, but I think he recently, like in the last 6 months, he's talked about the police department evolving to being more in the street and friendly, more foot police, if you will, just more interaction like this, and that's a good thing. But to be frank with you, we still have a lot of crime in Fresno.
Here's the thing that bothers me, though, and in this I have to stick up for. I don't know who I'm sticking up for, but I'm going to tell you one thing that sickened me. I didn't even sleep at night. Is the murder of 9-year-old Janessa Ramirez.
Well, of course.
These are gang members, and for the life of me, I don't know why they were let out of jail. We have another call coming in. This is where we can't let the gang members control our streets. The police have to come in, and if they have to shoot, then shoot. But a 9-year-old girl, my God, I wasn't. Oops, I guess the caller is gone now. But call back at 436-ME-TV option 11. We can't let them take over the streets. We can't let them control our city. We can't let them kill innocent little girls.
No one's
like
going to
Janessa.
argue with that, John. That's everybody. Everybody's
Any
against
human would
that.
say the same thing.
But here's my problem. I'm glad you brought that up.
So what's the answer, though?
Well, let me just say this. We don't have an epidemic of gangs sweeping through Fresno. If you talk to Dyer, that would be what.
But if you
let
talk
you
to a
lead
lot
to
of people,
believe.
that's the case.
Let me finish my thought, please. Here's the problem with Fresno and the Fresno Beat too. Every single time someone gets shot or the police shoot somebody, it is a gang member. That is outright baloney. It's just not. Every Mexican that breaks the law is not a gang member. I happen to know that personally. And intellectual people on the street will tell you that. Everybody in Fresno that breaks the law and is Latino is not a gang member. That's a stereotype, John.
Okay. Hey, go ahead, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead.
I could see the lady still talking, but
well, you'll have to turn down the TV set.
I have something to say about what I heard them say about, some of these people being shot, and the cops wanting to shoot real quick. I'd like to know how many people were shot in the back, or what the cops could have just, if there was no gun, that they could have used their taser instead. I mean, needing training, they know already, but they're gung-ho to shoot. Yeah. I figure when it comes to, like, when someone says, there's a gang member over here, or there's, someone bad. I mean, you're supposed to get them.
No. Leave one.
But, I'm sure a lot of times they could use a taser.
Caller, let me ask you something.
I'm not for gangs. Believe me, I'm for law and order. But the thing is that, we need to put a connection there to use it in seeing what really is being done about not shooting them, but, maybe tasing them.
Okay.
Using their tasers better. That's
okay.
what I look at it.
All right.
Unless there's a gun and they're being shot at, then, then take them out. That's all I got to say.
All right. Thank you for the call. So who's more gun-ho to shoot, the gangs or the police?
That isn't even a fair question.
Let me go back to what we're doing, the solution. And one of the things we started, and this is, you're right, the Janessa, the killing of this 9-year-old was a shame. And this happened before. But one of the things we started recently, and this is a campaign that's going on, is going into the communities. We're already working with the gangs, but the narrative is going to be that we need to take accountability of our own kids and our own streets without having to depend on the police. This is going to include building neighborhoods and building relationships with our neighbors, so that way we don't have to step to the next step, which is calling the police. If we don't have to do that, then fine. If we could build better relationships, fine. But it's going to be a bold and courageous approach to speaking directly with the gangs, letting them know that this is not right. And we have gang members who are working with us on this initiative, because the last thing anybody wants to see is the shooting of a 9-year-old girl. And the media portrays it, and Chief Dyer has portrayed these shootings of people where gangs are involved. He's portrayed it in a way too that I think makes people desensitized to cracking heads when they're going into neighborhoods. The problem is a lot of those gang members are our kids, our grandkids, our brothers and sisters. And for those of us who live in the neighborhoods, like the initiative that he promised us this summer were more community policing. We saw the Tower District where people were being harassed, and you looked at the ones who were being harassed and the ones that were being talked to. It's a total different class. And you're talking about poor white kids, poor Mexican, poor blacks, a lot of them quote-unquote gang member looking, but the ones who were being talked to in a nice way were, your middle class, everyday American looking people, and at a Starbucks. And Dyer, let me say this about Dyer. One-on-one, I know Dyer, he's the nicest person you will ever meet. He doesn't look tough. The problem is his cops below him. They act tough because they know they got the green light to go ahead and basically carry out their law the way they see fit.
Yeah, got another call coming in. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. What's your question or comment, please?
Yeah, I just had a comment. Last weekend, when reporting our neighbor's kid being punched in the face and thrown off his bike, department officers told me they were too busy and just kept driving off. This police department's completely out of control. They're great at taking out people, but they will not help people. John, I love your show. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the call. Go ahead, Rebecca. We
Yes.
got to take a break, so go ahead.
I want to say something about the previous caller, and I really am, thank you very much, whoever you are that called, because it was calls like that we got for 10 plus years that kept Criminal Justice Committee on really the line with the mayor, with city council to create the independent auditor, because we had so many people saying, yeah, they're shooting us in the back, they're too gung-ho to shoot, they shoot first, ask questions later, that's if you survive. And so that, the impetus for creating Rick Rasmussen's position today, and prior to him it was Eddie Aubrey, was exactly that, excessive force issues. And they were alive and well in 2009 when we created the position, and we might even say it's worse. In some ways it's worse today, because Dyer says there in one lawsuit, but one of the last ones where it was almost $3 million, the attorney for the person that got the money that was killed by the police said, well, maybe this will be a wake-up call to the police department in terms of policies and procedures. And just before that, because the PD and the city thought they were going to win, they said, policies and procedures aren't going to change. We have no intention of changing anything. So we have a problem with a police chief, Bruce Rudd, that's city manager, and a mayor who, for whatever reason, think the system is working. And clearly, this last catastrophe with Foster, it shows plainly that it's not working.
Right. Got to take a break. A lot more to talk about. A half hour to go here on the program, and we do have a call, but I'm gonna put that call on hold. I got to take a break. Back in just a moment.
We get our speed from Mom and Dad. They do stuff super fast. And now they got this new kitchen, so they're even faster.
So they can help us with our free throws.
The time-saving Frigidaire Gallery line with a quick preheat and smudge-proof stainless steel that resists fingerprints and cleans easily. It's mealtime in no time, from start to clean. Frigidaire Gallery.
Save more during Frigidaire Gallery bonus days when you buy 3 or more qualifying appliances. See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Back here on the show on the Connect With Me program on Me TV Fresno. And caller, I know you've been waiting here for a couple of minutes. Go ahead, you're on the air.
Hi, John. I'm a 57-year-old disabled woman, and this was not Fresno Police Department, but speaking to the issue of police brutality. My purse was stolen. My phone was not working correctly, so I could not. I had controlled substances in there that I'd been on for 20 years. I'm a chronic pain patient.
Mm-hmm.
It was 5 days later, I was finally able to call the police department. 5 Clovis police officers surrounded me at night with flashlights in my eyes, started screaming at me, stop resisting, screaming at me, when was the last time you used meth? I was beaten so badly they took me to the behavioral center rather than to a hospital where I should have been seen.
Wow.
Anyway,
Okay.
Through that experience, let me tell you regarding what these other people are saying.
We're gonna have to we're gonna have to go
told me I
quickly
could
on this. Go ahead.
I ended up down by the Poverello, and what they're talking about with the gangs is absolutely true. They are, or I don't know who is trying to do this.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for the call. I do want to put up, because we have a lot of video to run, and I do want to run a piece of video. It's called FBI. It took place last Thursday when the FBI came in and made the announcement of the arrest of Keith Foster and several others that were involved in this supposed drug ring. And take a listen to this.
Thank you, Monica. My name is Joe Riel, R-I-E-H-L. Just by way of background, this investigation was initiated about a year ago. It started out under a business model that we're operating under, trying to reduce the violent crime involving firearms and armed drug trafficking, specifically in this case in the Fresno area. Based off of the investigation, as we started to develop information, we developed some of that information that was very sensitive and significant, at which time we called our sister agency, the FBI, who joined us in the investigation. In doing so, this investigation, because of the information and sensitivity, was deemed as a federal investigation that involved the FBI, ATF, and the U.S. Attorney's Office. We have worked this investigation tirelessly. I have to commend our supervisors from our Fresno office, both at the FBI and ATF, and our staff, the men and women who've worked on this for the past year, and the exceptional work they've done. And the results of this investigation will come out in the near future.
The announcement coming last Thursday, late afternoon, about the shocking arrest of Keith Foster, that deputy chief. We're going to get into some other issues involving other deputy chiefs in a moment. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Quickly, what's your comment, please?
My comment is that Chief Dyer is, I'm pretty sure he was well known of what this Officer Foster was doing. He's not a right man. He's crooked. So I just wanted to make that point.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, look, you can make accusations until you're blue in the face, and we don't really know the answer to that question, whether or not anyone in the police department is crooked, until something like this comes to light. We know Keith Foster has been charged. He's not been convicted of anything. Year-long investigation by the FBI. Caller, quickly, what's your question or comment?
I live downtown, and I think there's really what you call no crime. I'm glad I live downtown because it's safe here.
Okay. All right. I appreciate your comment. Listen, I want to put up, I want to talk about some of these deputy chiefs. Let's put up the picture of Robert Navarez, and I want you two to comment about this, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this and what happened. There is Robert Navarez. He is a deputy police chief. Let's put up the picture of Sharon Schaefer. She is a deputy police chief. In a combined lawsuit represented by Warren Pabujian, they filed suit. I think they settled out of court for $300,000 or $400,000, give or take. The city hired an attorney, I believe out of Los Angeles, for around $800,000. So they settled. So the city paid the outside attorney $800,000, $300,000 to settle this, and another $100,000 to Warren Pabujian on a case that they lost. So you've got 4 deputy police chiefs, 2 of them which have sued the city and Chief Dyer. We'll get to that in a minute. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, I've lived in Fresno all my life, and I'm going to be 65 years old, and I think we need to stop beating up on the police department. They put their lives on the line every day to keep us safe. The Bleeding Hearts have allowed illegal Mexicans and illegal Hmongs in this country, and a lot of them have gone to the ways of gangs, and they are ruthless. So let's stop beating up on the police department. They're the ones that are doing the job and trying to keep the city safe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments and your call. I do want to get to that in a moment. You can react to the call, but I want to react to the two deputy police chiefs, Navarez and Schaefer, suing, settling out of court. What is your take on this?
Well, it's interesting because one of the first articles that came out after the Foster story broke was an interview with Chief Dyer saying, I need at least a couple of years to groom my next administrative staff to take my place. And Hofstadter asked, well, who would that be? Well, that would be Pat Farmer, no longer Keith Foster, but that would be Navarez and Schaefer also, because those are all his four deputy police chief. Now, Navarez and Schaefer have called the police department a hostile work environment. So that only leaves Pat Foster. The truth is that his system is broken. So then Hofstadter asks the question, well, so then what isn't there trouble at the top if you have one of your deputy chiefs?
Asked. I'm going to interject here. This is what Hofstadter asked. He's George Hofstadter, our best friend here at Connect With Me from the Fresno Bee. Been on here many times. He asked the question during a news conference last week: if Foster's incident, coupled with a lawsuit brought against the chief by two other deputy chiefs, that he was losing his command and might be his defining crisis within the department. Caller, I want you to hang on. Don't hang up. I got to finish my thought here. City Manager Bruce Rudd cut off the answer, said, don't go poking around police business. The public will be told what City Hall wants to tell them. Exactly. The following day, Bruce Rudd, the city manager, apologized and said you can ask any basically said you can ask any question you want, that he was wrong in making that statement. And I want to ask you, Juan, why are these lawsuits relevant? Why was George Hofstadter's question relevant to what's going on with Keith Foster?
Let me start first by saying, as president of MAPA, National State President of MAPA, this is not about Keith Foster. I want to make that clear.
But why are these lawsuits?
And let me explain that. The lawsuits are relevant and the questions are relevant because, number one, you have a city manager who is telling the media that they need to shut up. That's wrong.
He apologized.
Yeah, I know he apologized, but I met with him during the summer.
Why are the lawsuits relevant?
And the lawsuits are relevant because that's a paper trail, and that is a record and of evidence of a troubled department. And going back to what Ms. Rangel was saying right now, you've got these deputies underneath Chief Dyer himself. It's most of them who sued Chief Dyer, and now Foster him in his own trouble. And Farmer is no angel either. We've had reports of him as well in Pinedale and other places from gang members. So he's no angel himself.
Caller, go ahead quickly.
Yeah, my name is Paul Condon. I'm running for mayor in 2016. Biggest thing and objective is to fire Jerry Dyer. So please, everybody, vote for me. I mean, this has to be done. This is out of control. The lady was correct earlier. We do need the police. Yeah. But what we don't need is police pulling guns on you for no reason, for them telling you you're possibly 5150, yet you're only calling in because your daughter's been missing and hasn't been living in the same place for 3 months. This is out of control.
Okay.
John, can I interject, please?
Quickly.
To take off something you didn't finish reading there about Mr. City Manager Mr. Rudd. Yes, Mr. Rudd. Yeah. And that is, the rest of that quotation needed to include that he called Hofstadter's comment inappropriate and a personnel matter. So, I mean, that's really blowing us off. So the truth is, and then his part of his apology said he was too emotional. Well, I'd like to see him get emotional about the taxpayer. That's where I'd like to see some emotion. And furthermore, I'd love to know why our mayor is painfully silent during all of this.
Well, she held a news conference.
Well, she did, and all she did was talk about her job description. That's what she talked about.
No, she said she supported Jerry Dyer in his position, as did Bruce Rudd. But I got to take a break here, and we're going to come back. 436-ME-TV, option 11, in a moment.
A top secret location. It's the spies who love me, bringing together MeTV's top super spies to fight evil at a memorable moment's notice. They're daring.
That's right.
Brave.
Now what are we gonna do?
The best we can.
Suave.
Does that apply to me, Oscar? Possibly.
And smart?
The old finger in the gun trick.
Maxwell Smart.
MeTV Fresno, channel 43.6 and Xfinity 187.
I have complete trust in the members of the Fresno Police Department. I think it is a sad day
when we allow an isolated incident to cause us to lose confidence in mankind, and I refuse to do that. I trust my members of this police department, and I trust my staff. We have measures in place that regulate their behavior. We hire people from the human race, and we promote people from the human race, and they make decisions. Sometimes those decisions are bad, sometimes they use bad judgment, and sometimes those decisions that they make result in criminal misbehavior. And that's the allegations that we have before us today. But I refuse to allow this incident to cause me to lose faith or confidence or trust in this police department.
So Police Chief Jerry Dyer saying, no, the police department isn't broken. He has to fix certain things within the department. He doesn't know what his future is within that department in the next couple of years. But Jerry Dyer not going anywhere. He's getting the full support of Rudd, the mayor. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
If it is true that Jerry Dyer is turning around and running for the mayor of the city of Fresno, is he going to be running on the clock, on the dime of the Fresno residents, and plus getting his salary from the city? Would that not be a conflict of interest?
I don't know. Juan?
I think so. Although I don't think he's running for mayor anytime soon. I think he was hoping to get appointed someplace at the state level, but some of those opportunities are going to pass him by because of this scandal. But at the same time, whoever runs for mayor, because Ashley Swearengin is going to run for some sort of state office or national federal office, we know that. And if that's the case, that's why she's backing him, obviously, because this is on her watch as well. And this is the All-American City reputation is going down the toilet.
All right. Caller, you're there. Go ahead.
Hello,
Caller?
am I on the air?
Yeah, turn down the TV set, please. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I just, I got to admit, I had the impulse to call when I saw Jerry Dyer speaking right now. And I don't know, it just brought to mind an old thing. There's nothing more phonier than a cop on television, trying to cover up something. And this cover up with the, and that's what it is right away. I mean, come on, it's things that they do all kinds of things. They've killed people who were, they basically denied them due process. And that's all I want to say. Just Dyer, he's just wasn't he accused of certain things years back having to do with I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. He with statutory rape.
Yeah, that was a long.
A lot of people they call in saying, "Oh yeah, let's quit bad mouthing the police." Well, what are we supposed to do? Just let them get away with a lot of stuff? There has to be a balance,
Right. Okay. Thank you very much for the call. That was a long time ago. There were these allegations, and that's all they were, is allegations. They never came to the forefront as being proven to be true. So I want to get back to some of these pictures. I want to put up the picture of Pat Farmer and Keith Foster again, because these are the other two deputy police chiefs. That's Pat Farmer right there. He held that news conference the other day during that murder-suicide downtown Fresno. Police Chief Jerry Dyer was out of town. And, of course, he can be seen as Dyer's right-hand man right now. Foster, right there, under investigation. He has been charged with federal drug trafficking. We'll see what happens there. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, I'm going to change the subject slightly, but it seems like the use of the police force is being overused in the sense of, like, for instance, that murder that happened in downtown. There was over 75 cars at that location and over 100 officers for that murder. Do we really need that many people at that site at that time?
Yeah.
And they could be doing something else.
I don't know.
Thank you.
I'm not an expert, but I do have to take a break. We're going to come back and continue this. We'll talk about some of the lawsuits that have been taking place over the course of the last few years against the police, Chief Jerry Dyer, and the city. Back in just a moment.
You can find movies on over-the-air channel 13.3. Movies. Our name says it all.
We're back here on the program Connect with Me, and I mentioned these lawsuits by Robert Navarez, Sharon Schaefer. Those are 2 of the 4 deputy police chiefs that are on staff right now. The other 2 are Pat Farmer. He's Dyer's right-hand man, and of course Foster's in trouble with the feds now. Caller, I know you're there, but I don't want to get to you now. Just can you hang on a moment, please? Thank you. Lawsuits. How many in the past few years against the chief?
Well,
many? A lot?
Oh, there are a lot.
Just a
yes.
few? Who wants to pick it up?
Well, I'll just say the little bit that I know, and that is that there was an article in the Bee in January of 2012 that said there were 36 pending lawsuits, but that's 3 years old.
Against Dyer?
Against the police department, not
Against
Dyer
okay.
specifically,
All
but
right.
against the PD.
Why is that relevant?
The reason goes back to leadership again. It goes back to who's at the top and how they're running the department and what kind of freedoms he's allowing certain people. One of the demands we made, and we're going to continue to make this, to drug test the police. I bet you in a lot of those officer-involved shootings, I bet you would have somebody on some sort of drug.
Why aren't they testing police now for drugs?
Well, obviously because the police union protects them from having to do that, but it's very relevant to a shooting that takes place. We're not drug testing police. If we started drug testing police, I bet you would probably see a little less shooting of police of civilians. So it's very relevant, these lawsuits. And in addition, it's costing the city money. And I warned Swearingen when she first became mayor. I told the city, you guys are going to pay if this continues. And sure enough, the lawsuits have come and the city has had to pay.
Caller, quickly, we're short on time. Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yes, I think the fact that not only the arrest of Mr. Foster, but also you had, I think a few years back, and the 3 police officers that were arrested, and 2 of them pled out in order to testify against the 3rd in federal court. I think was for excessive force, for killing an individual. That, like I said, that goes back to leadership and so forth. And I have a friend of mine who's a detective for Fresno Police Department who told me, if you can utter this one line, you too can work for the Fresno Police Department. And he told me the one line is, I was in fear for my life. If you can say that line after killing somebody or shooting somebody, then you can work for the Fresno Police Department because, that's going to protect you. So, I think it's just a very, this whole incident gives a very poor reflection of the Fresno Police Department, the trust that people have in them.
Great. Thank you for the call. I got 2 questions for you. Should Chief Dyer be held responsible for the Keith Foster situation? What do you want to happen to him?
If it's found that he knew something, definitely, no question about it. If by any
that's
chance,
not been proven.
Yeah, true. And if by any chance there's no proof, I think he still needs to be held responsible to the extent that there's some pretty bad cops on the force right now, and that are there because of Chief Dyer and because of that circle of that thin blue line that protects these officers.
Rebecca?
There are plenty of what was your question?
Should Dyer be held responsible for Keith Foster?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's his top in command. And back to drug testing, we need to do drug testing, random drug testing, ASAP, at the very least.
Caller, hang on a second. Second part of that question is, would you not agree that there is a gang problem in this town?
Well,
this whole gang problem, politicians use it, a lot of people use it, but the truth is Fresno doesn't have the gang problem that Madera County or the city of Madera has.
Do we have a gang problem?
Not to the extent that it's made out to be on the television.
Rebecca?
We have gangs on the streets. Yes, we have generations of gang members, but this I think a lot of that's tied to the federal funding and the money that's coming into the city as a way to keep this department pumped up on this money, and so gangs are easy scapegoat.
Hang on,
an
caller.
easy selling point.
Yes, we have a gang problem, but we also have a leadership problem in the PD.
Right.
Because the gang issue could be handled in so many ways instead of shoot first, ask questions later.
Caller.
It's exacerbated, let me say that, with this poor leadership.
Short on time, caller. Go ahead.
Hey, quit blaming the police department so much and let's take our own responsibility on this thing. The church is going to stop the gangs, but they didn't do it. They sat in the pews.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm not quite sure. I don't know if that was pro or anti-police. I want to run a videotape real quick called Mayor Press Conference, the Mayor Presser before we go. This was Mayor Ashley Swearingen last week as the revelations about Chief Foster came out and came to light.
We're here today to provide the community with an update on yesterday's events involving the arrest of Deputy Chief Keith Foster. Our meeting was to ask 2 questions. First, based on the FBI's investigation, do they have any reason to believe the criminal charges that have been brought against Keith Foster extend to any other individual or representative of the Fresno Police Department? Agent Gliotta's response was clear. He indicated that based on the information collected during their investigation, the FBI believes this is an isolated incident and does not involve other individuals or representatives of the Fresno Police Department. The second key question that I posed to the FBI this morning was, given what they know from the investigation, in hindsight, was there any way that the Fresno Police Department could have or should have known about the activities alleged in the criminal complaint against Keith Foster? The response we received from the FBI was that the police department could not have known about these activities.
I spend 60 to 70 hours a week as a police chief in the city. Consider myself to be extremely hands-on. Deputy Chief Foster's office is just a few feet away from mine. I would think if anyone would have known or suspected something occurring of a criminal nature, that it would have been me.
The mayor and Chief Dyer last week addressing the news media and the community about Keith Foster's claiming that they did not know anything about the investigation or Foster's involvement in drugs. Caller, short on time. It's got to be like 10 seconds. I'm sorry.
Okay, this is the first I've heard this. Was this officer obtaining these drugs? Was he taking them for suspects he was arresting, or did he have his own thing going, or what was the deal?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the call. I think that's still under investigation, whether or not he was using, trafficking, going across state lines, selling, distributing. We don't know exactly what the details are, right?
Yep.
Is that true?
That's correct.
I believe that there's also pharmacists involved in this, and it's coming from all directions. I think a lot more is going to come out. And I think Chief Dyer is a lot smarter than we give him credit sometimes. I'm sure he didn't want to be part of anything, if he did know something was going on. Because the FBI, you're right, when they investigate well. And if they got you under suspicion, they're probably not going to tell you.
So all of the lawsuits and the accusations against Chief Dyer and the police department and some of the past actions, we got another call, but we don't have time. We've got about a minute left here. I know Jose Morales, remember, he committed suicide near the chief's home in 2004, I believe it was.
That's correct.
Why are all of these events now relevant to the Keith Foster case? That's question one. And should the chief keep his job?
I think we need to change leadership, and we needed to do that 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because we continue to have extreme situations. A lieutenant committing suicide 200 yards from his house. How is it that never got investigated and we never learned what had happened?
You got the last word.
Okay, I think that we do need to change leadership. Change is good, like they say, and when you're backed up by the People's Church, the biggest churches in town, Cornerstone, you're backed up by politicians like Ashley Swearingen, you're going to stay in there in power, and that is a corrupt department that needs to change.
Juan, I want you to come back, would you?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, and I love that hat. I want to buy one just like it. All right. Rebecca, Juan, thank you very much. That's going to do it for us today. And by the way, I'm not anti-police. I'm pro-police, but I'm kind of anti-corruption, and that's kind of what we were talking about here today. We're going to continue this conversation, this same conversation about the police and Chief Dyer with Dennis Hart on Monday. See you then. Have a great, happy Easter to everyone. Happy Good Friday and happy Easter.
Who's Dennis Hart?
Tonight I want to discuss the